Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Eric May, and on behalf of OTC Markets, as well as our co-hosts Alpha Transform Holdings and Blockchain Wire, we are very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Constellation Network. Please note, you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view the company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I am very pleased to welcome Ben Jorgensen, Chief Executive Officer of Constellation Network. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, OTC. I wish I was able to see you all today, but we're having some technical difficulties. I'm calling up from Napa Valley, California, so we're a little bit remote. But today I'm going to give kind of an informative overview of Constellation Network for you all. So going to the next slide, there we go. Introduction to Constellation. We're a DAG-powered ecosystem, so our currency DAG runs our ecosystem. But essentially what we define ourselves as a layer zero network that is built to capture off-chain data and bring it on-chain. So our real vision here is to kind of oversee the overlap of bringing Web3 tooling into Web2 applications. So our network is built with the developer in mind to build application-specific networks on top of our core decentralized network. Over the years, we've been validated by the U.S. Department of Defense, and that continues to be one of our closest customers that we've been working with for the past 5 years. So before I really dive into things, I wanted to take everybody on a little journey on how we got to this vision around creating scalable infrastructures for a future of data-rich applications. And essentially, our process was that we would build an MVP. So we'd develop a cryptocurrency, much like any other layer one protocol, but build it over our distributed network. Why would we build our own distributed network? Well, because we didn't see that it was integrated across, we couldn't integrate most blockchain layer one applications or protocols were very insular and not able to integrate with existing legacy infrastructure. So to realize our vision, we launched our own network. We've got about 600 nodes across 3 different networks. Our currency has ranged, as many of you know, in the volatility of crypto markets, between $150 million market cap to $1 billion market cap for DAG. So that was our MVP. Then as we built out our MVP in 2021, we started thinking to realize the vision, how do we expand network logic to really any data type? So if you think about layer one protocols, they're really just validating ledger balances in cryptocurrency. So our thinking was to really make this available to mainstream developers in Web2. We had to provide customized tooling. We need to make it easy to integrate across Docker containers, via Java libraries, all of which where the real developer ecosystem exists. Once we kind of exceeded that, our focus was around adoption. So our adoption thesis was more around the composability between Web2 infrastructure and Web3. Once again, the hybrid of the two to bring a new wave of decentralized applications. And so here we are today, providing open source Web3 development. We provide currency support and frameworks, node validator networks for people to build on, and the ability to take off-chain data and plug it into their own customizable blockchain. We've also been working with the federal government, IoT integrations for the past 5 years, and really our vision is actually coming together on providing more frameworks to make it really easy for people to deploy their own networks. So who are we? As Eric mentioned earlier, I'm Ben Jorgensen. I'm the CEO. Our team has been together since 2018, late 2017. We includes leadership from Oracle, Apple, Salesforce, Bloomberg, and a lot of startup experience as well. Our ecosystem has about 100,000 followers to date. Our company has full stack support, so we're building all the way at the bottom layer, infrastructure layer, technology, protocol layer, support, software development, and hardware. And to kind of realize this whole vision around attracting small, medium, and enterprise businesses, late last year, we launched our Enterprise Advisory Board. as the tech was finally in a ready state in late November. And we brought on industry leaders such as Alan Boehm, who was the former CTO of Coca-Cola, also former CTO of H&M and Procter & Gamble. Art Siebolt was the CIO of Omni Air, a part of a CRAF or commercial or civil reserve air fleet that works with the Department of Defense, all the way to individuals that were formerly the GM of Microsoft, the former executive director of the World Bank representing the United States, and security advisors for the U.S. government, that all are playing a hand in helping us accelerate the adoption of our vision around bringing blockchain or networks into existing infrastructure. But really, kind of one of the things that I wanted to paint of why now. A lot of this I wrote in a vision piece a couple of weeks ago that so much money has been invested into Web3, and currently the existing flywheel is really around DeFi. DeFi has really made a great value proposition for the entire industry, but there has to be more in capturing external value. And so this next wave that you hear a lot of us talking through about the Industrial Revolution, the 4.0, is really the next stage of data strategies that converges AI, blockchain, AR, VR for this very data-centric, data-driven compute world. And why I think the time is now is that there is a technical readiness that we have never seen in this industry in terms of application support, which ultimately is going to pave the way for us to bring external value into this existing flywheel of Web3. And that's taking the form of AI attribution or data assurance before it goes into automation, evolving loyalty and programmatic incentives in a different way, a non-linear economic model, much like we see with airline models coming into the forefront of all sorts of applications, secure information sharing on sensitive data, and effective tokenizing real-world assets, or RWA that you see a lot of, and also DePIN. This is a new movement that I think we were actually one of the pioneers for around decentralized physical infrastructure. And so if we take a moment and look at this next frontier of web applications and kind of the evolution of where fees are originated in Web3, we primarily see that the flywheel was created around L1 protocols, node validator fees, mining rewards, as really the baseline of the business model of all blockchain. And then we saw the evolution of DeFi, once again, kind of using those tools to create net new value, but ultimately staying in the same flywheel. And this third layer that started a few years ago, I would say about roughly 3 to 4 years ago, is really the service-oriented side of the business, looking at companies like ourselves, Constellation, or more of what this community probably knows, like Chainlink, Theta, BAT, Helium, Flux, all of which are trying to capture external value by replacing existing web services like S3 instances. But in order for services to scale, they have to have a no rip and replace policy. So we see a lot of this with the federal government. It's how we've been able to work with them for 5 years, is that we were required not to rip and replace existing technologies. So for blockchain and distributed networks to really take effect, they're going to have to provide offerings such as no rip and replace, enhanced product offerings through incentives to provide network effects, distribution, where the core tenets are really around security, transparency, and incentivization that will really bring to light blockchain services as the next frontier of bringing external value into the flywheel of Web3. So why Constellation? Well, Constellation is uniquely fit that we're allowing people or developers to build their own L1 network with the security tools of our core decentralized network. So what this means is that we enable people to build application-specific networks. They actually can design their own network with custom token logic, custom consensus, extensible tooling, that works across existing infrastructures, provide next generation security, and is enterprise equipped to scale. And I think this is the real value proposition here, is that we aren't a core blockchain that has an application specific use, but can tap into many industries. So as such, Constellation has taken a very different customer approach. We've taken a diverse approach to blockchain adoption to ride out some of the volatility waves that we see that we've seen across Web3, but really any sort of industry goes through some sort of volatile stage. So off to the right, you see this kind of flow of our customer base that ranges from the very top, which is mission critical secure information. That's our work with the U.S. Department of Defense. We're working with 13 different agencies to provide different ways of secure information sharing. Once again, the core tenet here, that our value proposition are really around security. We're also approaching commercial and enterprise projects around loyalty, incentive by design. We're working in DPIN, the dephysical infrastructure or IoT unit, where we use incentivizations for data collection and secure data from the source, interoperability between data sets. At the very bottom, we have more of businesses like Web3 businesses that want to just benefit from networking effects and incentivization models. So a little bit how it all works. So metagraphs are what we call the application-specific network. So this sits on top of our core network called the hypergraph network. And metagraphs are really isolated subnets that operate as a complete L1. They're able to use custom logic, validation criteria, and they're able to code in data structures into their consensus mechanism that they can scale on their metagraph. Metagraph really is a DAG architecture, so it's easy to deploy and scale. You can add more nodes, which is really good for community adoption, and it's really easy to add more nodes for scaling purposes. So more data you have, the more throughput you'll need, thus you'll need to expand your metagraph. At the metagraph layer, we've created frameworks for governance, currency, and data. So ingesting data, importing custom Java or Scala libraries, and the ability to interact with APIs. And really this flexibility is what is going to attract the next frontier of enterprise. As we all know, enterprise needs very customized solutions at the core. So once a metagraph is built, or these application-specific networks, they then connect to our hypergraph network. The hypergraph network today has its own consensus mechanism that actually runs in parallel to the metagraph. So a metagraph runs their own consensus, and then consensus is run on the hypergraph network. And this is also by design to provide scalability. To date, we have about 250 globally distributed nodes across our network. We don't have any centralized operator nodes. It is truly decentralized. The core of Constellation only has 3 nodes. So that really kind of creates one of the most unique value propositions out there. We also have a test network of about 300 nodes that test out features before they actually go live on the network, or test out various metagraphs before it goes live on the network. At the metagraph or the hypergraph level, we're allowed to secure consensus. We host our currency DAG as our native currency. And layer ones will use the hypergraph to add kind of state management or verification of the state of their metagraph. And this all rides on our currency DAG. So DAG is our native currency that's on our native blockchain. Once again, we're not a fork of an existing chain, we're our own native chain. So DAG is our native currency. And people use DAG, or developers will use DAG to secure snapshots or state the level of state of their application on our core network. So when a metagraph is reporting back to the hypergraph, it's paying a fee or a snapshot in DAG to secure the state or data of their application. Our currency has, at a peak time, been a $1.2 billion market cap. We currently sit at around 150 million. and we're on exchanges such as KuCoin, Gate, MEXC, and Uphold. And as I mentioned, it's used to kind of secure the network. We also have some really interesting future DAG utility that's coming out over the next 6 months, which will be launching bridges into other L1 ecosystems. We'll be launching our own decentralized exchange to encourage metagraph to metagraph swapping. And ultimately, snapshot fees will be going live here in the next couple of months. Scaling and deploying. So one of the interesting value propositions of metagraphs is they operate much like a microservice. And a microservice I consider kind of the interweavings of Web 2-based applications. So once again, our whole mindset was how do we simulate an experience like building Web 2 websites or frameworks and apply that to decentralized networking so that it's easier for developers to get up and running. So there's really minimal deployment here. We can scale to any sort of use case that has data throughput, small, medium, large. Whatever the requirement is, we're able to accommodate and scale for. We also, at the company, not only are we providing these protocol features and application layer, but we're also, we provide ecosystem tooling. So we have our own native wallet that's native to our ecosystem called the Stargazer wallet, which is a multi-chain wallet that supports other L1 ecosystems. It also supports our core DAG and other metagraph tokens as well. We have a block explorer that we call the DAG Explorer, much like other ecosystems that we support in-house as well. And we also have the Euclid SDK that provides local development environments for metagraph development. So you don't have to build it right online. And we've also featuring Hydra, which is a one-click deployment from local to live, making it really easy for developers to get online and test out their applications. So some of the case studies, I'm going to jump into a few case studies on kind of what we're talking about, the impact and ROI of our ecosystem. Our first real expression of our network was, hopefully you guys can hear me. Our first real expression or IoT-specific blockchain was a company called Door Technologies. We actually acquired Door Technologies in 2021. And what Door Technologies did was they built a thermal sensor hardware device that was sold to brick and mortar retailers to measure foot traffic. Foot traffic gave operational insights on staffing needs, marketing ROI, really anything that kind of brings foot traffic into a location. And so in our first expression of how to capture off-chain data and put it on-chain, we decided to take this unique source of data and create a metagraph around it. So each of those devices act like a node. We actually take the device, we sell it to Web3 individuals as well as Web2 individuals. They deploy the device. They have a little supporting application that gets it set up, installed. They align their wallets with it, and they're able to receive cryptocurrency rewards for collecting data. And they're also able to use those rewards to provide analytics, insights to the performance of that physical location. So really what the device is actually doing is signing a piece of data onto the metagraph. The metagraph is running consensus, and in parallel, the main network is running consensus on that data to make sure it's valid and that the security checks are in place. The outcome was pretty interesting. Where this was a traditionally B2B business, we actually saw that the Web3 community took it and ran. One, they like to mine it for rewards, but number two, because we were able to implement bounties based off of different location data, we saw that people acted as their own entrepreneur, which we call a datapreneur. And so they would actually take it and do the installation of the device into grocery stores, surf shops, mom and pop restaurants, and create full-on businesses around this, much like we have done with the traditional door business. We've sold about 820 devices to these datapreneurs that we call, ranging from about $500 to $5,500, depending on the reward structure. To date, we've clocked about 2 million transactions over just 4 months, and we've distributed quite a few rewards as well as bounties for certain location data and foot traffic that's collected. And as with any layer 1 blockchain, you also need a block explorer. So we've built our own component apps that allow people to manage the devices, upload or update firmware, as well as kind of provide analytics to each location, as well as analytics around how the entire blockchain of Door is running. On the enterprise side, we're seeing some really great movement. This group called National DigiFoundry was formed back in December with the intention of accelerating the adoption of blockchain, much like us, but across more enterprise organizations by creating a DAO. They decided to build their DAO, which is tokenized on Constellation, because of our ability to work with the federal government, but also because of our scaling attributes as well. So the National DigiFoundry is actually founded by partners like the U.S. Department of Treasury, Space Force, NASA, Microsoft, IBM, and Forward Edge AI, all, as I said, built around Constellation, built on our network. And this has been a really exciting inroads to actually getting people to eat their own dog food. Most DAOs in the enterprise world aren't really on chain. This is really the first expression of a DAO on chain. We've been able to partner up with IBM to deploy and host this metagraph, and this is taking rapid shape. Already, different organizations and the government are planning to do a lot of building on Constellation as the chosen chain. We're more approachable, have customer support, all of which is really kind of bringing to the forefront enterprise adoption in a different light. We're also exploring AI-specific blockchain. So working with Forward Edge AI, we've been able to demonstrate AI scoring and data quality. So the thought here is really around providing some sort of oracle or a metagraph as an oracle of data that provides assurance that the data going into the automation, whether it's smart contracting language or an AI, is what it says it is. And this veracity of the data can really measure success and provide quality controls that are essential for scaling out various AI models. So this has been a really exciting frontier that's really taking shape, that we're starting to think about how do we provide assurance into AI and all these AI applications that are coming into the forefront. And finally, as I mentioned several times, we work with the Department of Defense. So the federal spend is around $850 billion annually, with about $400 billion dedicated towards the private sector. This is a large amount of money, and one of their most mission-critical initiatives is around secure information sharing. So being able to securely share information between private entities and public entities and other agencies without having the data spoofed or hacked or compromised to adversaries. And so they're looking at how do they protect their infrastructure in a forward-looking manner that they can't already do. Did I lose it? Oh, there we go. That they can't already do. And so this is a huge step forward with the federal government, as they have we're working with a group called U.S. Transcom, which is the largest data provider in the Department of Defense, that have real needs that extend just beyond the Air Force, but to really every agency. Any agency that's doing bidding process on mission contracts, payment reconciliation, business intelligence. This goes across a large sweep of different applications. And we've already demonstrated this. Last week, we did a huge demonstration for the federal government showing how we can flag various events, API calls, and provide security and anti-spoofing across this information sharing. So how do I think we're going to grow? Really, the growth is through composability. Our thesis really is that this entire industry needs to have a leapfrog moment that brings in external value and bringing it on chain. And the best way to do that is through existing industries that have a need for this technology, that don't have to rip and replace their existing infrastructure, but can see a hybrid of Web3 and Web2. But through this expression, where our company is going, well, we're currently building a decentralized exchange with an AMM approach, and this will invite new liquidity into our ecosystem. So liquidity is really an essential play for really every ecosystem out there, but also the metagraphs that are coming to build. They want price action, they want discoverability, they want the marketability of their network. And so a DEX will be an essential piece that comes out before the end of this year around attracting liquidity. Network adoption through partners like NDF, through grant programs. In the past, we've done incubators and accelerators that have been very fruitful for us for network adoption. Additionally, providing more education towards our unique selling proposition, which is really around customization, compatibility, and really accelerate the message. So over the next several months and this year, it's a really exciting time for Constellation's ecosystem to grow because we're really focused on the things that matter. Liquidity to our ecosystem, which brings in network adoption, while catering to our unique selling proposition and attracting more enterprise and federal clients. I think that's it for today. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I'll take some questions here. We don't one of the questions is, do we have a open funding round? We have not. This is kind of our first entrance into exploring a funding round. To be completely transparent, we've never done a venture round. We did an ICO back in 2018, and we've been privately funded and revenue-based ever since. So we are kind of this boutique ecosystem that hasn't gotten the press that comes with venture rounds. So we're very, very open to talking with strategics on ways to help us kind of grow across our various initiatives. The scheduled launch date of the DEX is before the end of the year. We're aiming for Q4 of 2024. Let's see. The significance of being validated by the DoD. We do have government contracts currently, and we're always exploring more. And so the significance of being validated by the Department of Defense is they're normally they're more of like an edge use case. So not only have they been doing their due diligence and working with us for 5 years, we've had to work across their requirements, their structure, their framework, and we've had to show that we're agile and we can adapt. They've gone through our consensus mechanisms to our tooling for scaling. We've had to stress test across a lot of different use cases and really their fire hose of data. They also provide clear paths to funding various projects, as well as the marketability of using our technology as a standard across other government agencies. So in a nutshell, it's extremely significant from that perspective. It's also helped us build out our roadmap. Unlike many other blockchain protocols that just kind of build solutions and hope to find a customer, we're actually building our network in stride with a customer in mind. So we have an ethos at our company that we try to build features when there's a customer in mind and what that ROI is going to look like. Any plans for a public listing? It's certainly on the radar. And, you know, as I mentioned, our cryptocurrency DAG, our native token, is listed on several centralized exchanges. And we're always open to more exchanges as well. Public listing would be extremely fun process to go through. I feel like I could check off all the boxes at that point, from launching public tokens to listing on a real public exchange. And then how are you driving or take on implementation of your platform? As I mentioned, in the past, we've done programs like a flight program where we educate people on how to make a cryptocurrency and ultimately give them the tools to launch. Just last year, we launched our metagraph support, or our application-specific network documentation. So we're going to be looking to revamp that. We have about 250 different projects interested in going through that program. We also are building strategic inroads for enterprise adoption with groups like the NDF, and we do direct solicitation where we're going after a lot of the federal customers first, as there's a real mission critical need around the technology. And we're also working with our enterprise advisory firm to really pave those inroads into advancing loyalty programs and finding different use cases across workflows in existing companies. I think I did that all at the top of the hour. So thank you.